The Cigar Nerds Podcast.
And welcome to Cigar Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Smokin' Joe.
I'm Brad Jackson.
And here we are, yet again, recording, actually, this is episode 187. I figured like we probably should have done like a 90s gangster rap retrospective, since this is episode 187.
I mean, I feel like that would only be appropriate.
But instead, we're going to talk about another 80s classic. But first, what are we smoking this week, Brad?
This week we have a TAA exclusive. This is the Villiger 2022.
Yeah, we reviewed I think, was it last year or year before that? We reviewed a previous edition of the Villiger a while ago, and this is the new 2022 edition, which is a 6x52 box press Toro with a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, Nicaraguan binder from Jalapa, and Nicaraguan fillers from Esteli, Corojo, and Carrillo from Jalapa. And they say it's a medium to full-bodied blend, which I'm trying to remember, like I said, the last one too. It's not strong, but full-bodied. It had a lot of good flavor, but just wasn't like a kick you in the teeth cigar.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of feel like this cigar is shaping up to be that same way. Not a lot of strength off the, initial first third, but, definitely, some cocoa, leather, a little bit of earthiness. This just very much smokes like every other, Nicaraguan filled cigar. Anything coming out of the Esteli, with Jalapa and everything else, like, I love them. They're some of my favorite, cigars, but they all carry about the same, flavor profile.
Yeah, and I like those Mexican San Andreas for a wrapper leaf. I don't know. It's kind of
it adds almost a touch of heat.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. This
peppery.
Is maybe like a black, pepper or something. Just on the mouthfeel and just right there on the tip of the tongue.
Yeah,
this isn't an overly spicy cigar like some of the ones that we typically gravitate towards.
It's not as kind of sweet as like a Connecticut broadleaf Maduro. It's more of a like sweet peppery, like I said, it's got that touch of spice.
And those notes of cocoa kind of make that the sweet and hot sort of balance, which is rather interesting. I'm really digging this cigar.
And I'm liking the box press in like this kind of smaller ring gauge. Gives it a good mouthfeel. I mean, it's like it fits in your hand well. It's like this is a good like hanging out talking to people cigar. It's not like sticking something giant in your mouth is like, which usually prefer that. Those 60 plus ring gauge cigars. This is like a nice like you're on the golf course or whatever and just like having a conversation without getting lockjaw.
Yeah, nobody wants a good lockjaw.
Unless you're Skeletor. Wasn't that one of the He-Man villains, Lockjaw?
Yeah, I do believe so.
And speaking of things from the 80s, this week we're talking about Top Gun Maverick. The sequel we didn't know we needed. But now it absolutely...
Dude, obviously we'll spoil the shit out of, the film in the main segment. But just to sort of open it up, like, even if you were on the fence and didn't really dig the first, the second one, dude, like, this is summer action blockbuster, but with an emotional twist that's just, I didn't know I needed it. I was on the fence about it, and I gotta say, like, I was pleasantly surprised and blown away.
And if you're gonna have to go to Top Gun, you should call in the Strike Force, StrikeForceEnergy.com. Use your promo code CIgarnerds for 20% off your order. Now it's time to light the fires and kick the tires. And welcome back. It's time to get high.
Like, literally.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about Top Gun Maverick. which, as we said before, didn't know I needed it, but man, it was so good. Like, rarely do I'm like come out of a movie theater, because like I said, as much shit as I watch, it's like, it's rare that I'm like in the theater like, fuck yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll say that this was absolutely one of those films that, dude, I mean, I didn't catch it to this film had already been out, close to a week and a half or so. But, the theater was erupting with applause, laughter. Like, it was a packed house. Like, I was getting a nostalgia trip just walking through the theater, because literally half of the theater was dedicated to Top Gun, the other half to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I didn't go opening night, but that's what I ended up doing with my Memorial Day, was went to see Top Gun. And, anyone who's never seen Top Gun, like, even when I first got I was talking about, Top Gun, she's like, I've never seen Top Gun. I'm like, you're a fucking communist. If you don't like Top Gun, you are a fucking communist. It's like, it's one of those things, is like, it's essential. It's like, it's almost like watching Star Wars. Someone tells
well, I
me
mean, it's almost like one of those,
like,
it should be on, the exam to get an American citizenship. Like, have you seen Top Gun? Yes.
Do you understand the meaning of the phrase negative Ghost Rider pattern is full?
Ghostbusters?
No, get out.
But yeah, dude, I mean, this really kind of started me down a hole where I was trying to think, very rarely is it that you get a sequel that is, on par with the original, or almost better than the original.
Yes.
And I was thinking, okay, maybe Predator 2.
Terminator 2.
Terminator 2, obviously.
Or especially like the kind of, because nothing's ever original in Hollywood, if something works, then everyone's got to do it, the super late sequel, where it's like 20, 30 years later. Like, most of those, it's like, let's throw a bunch of nostalgia at them and see if, but this one was like, yes, like, when the credits roll and you hear the Top Gun theme, and then it immediately cuts to like a montage of jets launching and playing Highway to the Danger Zone, I'm like, fuck yes! But it didn't just depend on nostalgia. Like, I'm like, oh fuck, this is actually a compelling story. And
oh yeah, that was the thing. Is I mean, the action is great, and props to not just trying to de-age everyone and overlay everything with CGI, but we're seeing actual jets and actual pilots, and like, you don't get that in a lot of the big blockbusters now. We rely too much on, the computer-generated shit. And the fact that, fucking...
Yeah, most of that stuff is filmed, like, in real jets. So when you see them, like, struggling with G-forces, they literally strapped the actors into the back of a jet and had, like, professional pilots, like, fucking try to make them puke. So it's like, this is like, as far as like from a pilot's perspective, like, the actual like art of flying, I guess, it's probably the most realistic we've seen in a movie. It's not somebody on one of those like Marvel gimbals surrounded by green screen, and they literally like put these fuckers in jets and like and shot a lot of that stuff.
At points the movie does go off the rail, but that's to be expected with, like, I don't know, between this and Jurassic Park, I'm like, yes, the summer blockbuster is back.
Yes.
Like, we've had way too many summers now with lackluster, like, unless there was another Marvel film or something, like, it's just great to see something original, and maybe the fact that this was one of those films that I had such low expectations of going into.
That was one of the things I was fixing to ask. Do you think it's benefited from lowered expectation?
Well, I personally don't think I had any expectation outside of, it's Top Gun, I'm going to have to see Top Gun, and then I'm pleasantly surprised, like, not only with the action, but the callbacks and the tie-ins and the way they try to answer and progress the story, and it's like, how are they going to make this work? And they do a great job, for the most part, of answering and explaining it.
Yeah, and we'll get into like specifics here in a bit, but it wasn't the movie I expected. From the trailer showed a lot of cool action stuff, but it was like what I expected when they announced this movie is like, all right, it's just going to be a remake of the original, except now Maverick is like, what was the Viper or whatever, the guy that was like the head instructor at Top Gun in the first movie. All it is going to be a bunch of new, shithead pilots are coming to Top Gun, and now Maverick is like the instructor. Where it had some of that, but it wasn't like, he wasn't like the guy running Top Gun. He was like, like we have a real world, like life or death mission, and we need somebody to train the best in the world to fly a fucking suicide mission. I mean, it's like, I was not expecting like the high stakes of this movie from what we got from like the trailer. They did a good job of not blowing the whole story like up front.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I really appreciate trailers that don't give away everything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I despise the trailers that look really good, and then all the shit they showcase in the trailer's been cut from the actual release of the film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that to me feels like a bait and switch.
Fucking Disney does that a lot too. They'll edit characters out of scene or throw characters in scenes, and I'm like, where was that in the film? I didn't see any of these shit we've been seeing on TV for the last 6 months.
But yeah, I mean, just to summarize, it was the movie I didn't know I needed, but I am really glad that I, experienced it, And the other thing too, like, I mean, I grew up watching Top Gun on VHS because, my parents weren't super big into theaters or anything like that. They were, very homely people. So, I missed an opportunity to, see that in theaters when I was younger. Not that I would have appreciated it as much anyway, outside of, ooh, jets. That's cool. But, this had like me thinking, like, fuck.
When did the original come out?
86 or something?
Yeah, because I mean, this came out when,
Yeah, it was May 16th, 1986.
So yeah, and so I was like 7 when this came out. But as a kid, I was like, oh my god, I want to be a fighter pilot. Walking around with like Walmart sold like the fake like fighter. I think I have like one of my like elementary school class photos. I'm wearing like a knockoff like Tomcat jacket.
But I mean, that's the, sort of the nostalgia factor. Like, that's one thing that I miss about modern films is, here, like, Top Gun, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, all of these films, like, dude, they inspired and changed the way that kids interacted with toys and all the cross merchandising that came with that. Like, not that I've perused any toy aisles recently, but, I can't be like, oh, this really cool badass action figure just came out. Let me, add that to my collection or anything of that nature. Like,
'cause this came out the first one came out during like the highlight of like G.I. Joe and shit. So it's like, everyone wanted the, I can't remember what the G.I. Joe F-14 Tomcat was. Or the thing that I always wanted and never got was the freaking 6-foot aircraft carrier. I was like, Hasbro probably has no affiliation with this movie, but they definitely capitalized on
I can remember going to one of my buddies' house who did have that. Like, dude, we spent many weekends, like, between that and melting army men and, trying to use fireworks and stuff, to make explosions and, freaking bazookas going off and shit. Like, I mean, it just, like I said, it completely changed the way you interacted and you played with toys. Like,
and like going into it, expectations were low, and there was a certain things I was like, all right, it's 30 years. There's no fucking way Maverick would still be flying. Like, if he was still a captain in the, Navy for they would have like kicked him out a long time ago. There's no way at 30 years if you haven't gone up in rank. Usually the rules are like, yeah, you got to go, dude. And that was the thing going in. I'm like, this is going to be bullshit because there's no way he's still a badass fighter pilot. But then they actually did a good job of explaining that away. Like you find out
it's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. So it's like Iceman, then brought back Val Kilmer. He's like the commander of like the Pacific Fleet or something. He's like, pretty high up.
I'm pretty sure he's an admiral, right?
Yeah, but he was like not just an admiral. He was like the commander of the entire fleet. He's like one of the like high up admirals. So it's like, all right, that explains it. Like he's got basically anytime he gets in trouble or he's like Iceman's like, nah, let him keep flying. So I'm like, all right, it at least makes it plausible. It probably wouldn't happen in real life, but it at least made it plausible.
I mean, it wasn't so far over the top that you'd be like, bullshit, my bullshit meter's, off the charts right now. One thing that this film did do, though, is like you said, when you watch it as a kid, it's like, I'm going to be a fighter pilot when I grow up. And I'm like, I'm almost 40. I'm too old to be a fighter pilot. Damn it. And I'm like, wait a second. Tom Cruise is in his fucking 60s and he's in the back of a fighter pilot. Like,
that guy's a fucking wizard because he barely looks like he's aged any. Like when he goes to seek advice from Iceman like summons him to his house. He's like, hey, we need to talk. He's like, it's not a good time. He's like, it wasn't a request. Get your ass over here, motherfucker. We're friends, but I'm still pulling rank. And they have that great like kind of moment saying, him kind of like telling him like, hey man, you got to learn to be the teacher and pass what you like. The Navy still needs Maverick, but like, this is what you got to do now is like teach. If you want these kids to survive this mission, you've got to get them to like know what you know. And because Val Kilmer, like, I don't know how much longer that dude's got around. He's his condition in the movie is pretty much his condition in real life. So it's like, I thought that was if this is his last project, I thought that scene was a good send-off.
I mean, I definitely think that, they paid homage and everything else, to that character.
But when you see Tom Cruise with Iceman, yeah, it's a stark difference. You're like, this dude looks like he's in his I'm 43. He looks better than I do. And then you have Val Kilmer, who's like aged like a normal person. And you're like, fucking Tom Cruise is like a wizard. I don't know what kind of like.
And that was a kind of crazy thing. Like, and I'm glad they didn't try to do, so much of like the Disney Marvel. We'll just CGI out the mustache, or we got this cool de-aging filter that we'll try to use, and they kept it practical, and I think that went a long way, because if they tried to tweak ages, and to me, I would have just been like, I'm calling bullshit. Like, it's been 30 years. Like, let the dude, be that age or whatever,
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
like, I'd be like, we know it's been 30 years, but he's still in school, No. Bullshit.
Yeah. We set this movie, it's actually 92 or something like that, We just de-age everybody. Like, no, it's now. And back in the day, it was
like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it'd be like, dude, I get it. You might be, 21, 22, but you look like you're 35. Like, there's no way you're a high school kid.
Hello, fellow kids. I'm a student just like... No, you're the fucking undercover FBI agent.
Yeah.
So this movie starts off with... We first catch up to Maverick. Now he's like, looks like he's working in Area 51. Testing some new hypersonic jet. And I love his, like... house, I guess. It's like, dude pretty much like
lives in a hangar.
Yeah, I was like, if I was a single man, that would be awesome. He's like living, he got his like personal plane, and not only does he, like the nostalgia kick of it, you see like all of, like the citations and unit patches for all the teams he's flown with, and he has a nice new like badass bike, but then he like pulls out the old like whatever 86 Kawasaki or Honda or whatever the hell it was from the first movie, and it's like he's still got the same damn bike from the I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Dude knows how to appreciate a machine, all right? You know?
Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the few toys that's like, well, if all this computer shit goes ape wire, I still got this to fall back on. It uses nuts and bolts.
yeah, it's like having a car made that still has a carburetor on it. You're like, I might be able to fix some of this shit. Once you start getting into computers, like you open a Tesla and it looks like I'm opening up my freaking inside of my laptop. You're like, nope.
Fuck that. Just some of the modern refrigerators, like, does everything need to have built-in Wi-Fi? Like, why does my microwave need Wi-Fi?
So they can
like,
spy on you.
Like,
Everywhere
oh, my
you go.
refrigerator also has Wi-Fi because I'm just going to sit there where the ice maker should be and, start searching Google. Like,
I know, like, I thought that was dumb until I went to fill up, like, a 32-ounce water bottle, and the, like, water spigot on my refrigerator is so fucking slow that I'm like, if there was a screen on this, I would definitely watch some YouTube this 5 minutes I'm standing here waiting for this fucking jug to fill.
Why don't you sit there with your jug in one hand, your phone in the other?
That's just too complicated.
You got to learn to multitask.
Or that's where I left my phone, like, on the table or something, and it's like...
The cats hit it.
Yeah, it's like, I could walk away and go back and get my phone, but then it's like, no, I'm like, I've committed to this. I've got to finish this. But yeah, the supersonic jet scene was, like, badass, and it's like... And this is where you see how another reason why he's never really progressed is he still has that kind of attitude. And especially now, like, the plane back in the day, he was flying the F-14 Tomcat where he had a goose in the back seat. Now, like, the Navy's flying Hornets and stuff, and it's like a single man, for the most part, aircraft. It's like he's got he's got no one to sit in his back seat and go, we shouldn't do this, Mav. He's just like...
But at the same time, like, I mean, I get flying with a squadron, like, if you're reckless, like, you could potentially wipe out your whole squad, but at least now, like, you do some dumb shit, you're going out of the sky, you're not taking your buddy down with you.
Yeah, and they're, like, this project they're on, they're, like, supposed to, like, hit Mach 10, and it's like, well, we're supposed to go to Mach 9 today, but... Some admiral's coming to, like, shut us all down because they want to, like, do away with living pilots and start, like, a drone program. They're like, well, he's not here yet. Let's, like, his kind of, whatever, XO or whatever, he's like, I don't like that look, Mav. He's like, it's the only look I got. You're about to get us all fired. He's like, all right, get to Mach 10. Don't go 10.1. 10. And sure enough, he hits the mark that's going to save the program, and then he's like, let's see what else we can do. Like I said, his fucking ego still gets him in trouble, and he pushes the plane a little too far and just fucking blows up. But that thing flies so fast, he ends up in the middle of nowhere and has to... he just, like, walks into some diner, like, all burned, like, looks like a fucking spaceman, and everyone's like, is this a damn alien? Especially, like, because that looked like it was, like, might not have been Area 51, but it definitely looked like, a place that people would assume.
Out in the desert where, it's like, if we had crops, there would definitely be circles in our crops.
Yeah, it's definitely in an area where people are like, there's UFOs and stuff. No, it's just, freaking skunk works testing, top secret aircraft and whatnot. So everyone's like, it's goddamn robot aliens. Can I get some water and some Reese's Pieces? Whatever. I don't know if aliens still eat Reese's Pieces.
Nah, just some water and some butt probes.
But yeah, when he gets, like, immediately ordered back to, like, Top Gun, and they're like, all right, here's our super secret mission. Like, some rogue nation that they never actually say who is developing a nuclear weapons program, and they're whatever...
About to get their enriched uranium shipment or something.
So we got to, like, blow this place up, and it's, like, impossible to get in. And he's like, all right, yeah, I haven't flown an F-18 in a while, but, give me a couple days, I'll figure it out. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, old man? Like, no, we want you to train, like, the actual young kids that can fly these missions. He's like, what? And it's like, yeah, instead of, like, him training, like, a new class of Top Gun, like, no, we're going to find you, like, the top 10 most recent graduates, and you find the team that's going to take on this mission, which they straight rip off Star Wars.
I'm going to let you continue because I know we talked about this off air.
It's one of those things like after, like, while I'm sitting there, like when they're going through the whole mission plan, I'm like, this is just fucking Star Wars. They have to fly through a trench underneath radar and guns to hit a target that's only 3 meters wide.
And it's an exhaust port.
Yes. It was like, I wait for him, like, this is like Bullseye and Womp Rats and my T-16 back home. And then also, you have not read the books as much as I have, but the old pre-Disney expanded universe, Wedge Antilles was kind of like Maverick. He refused all promotions because he's like, I don't want to get out of the cockpit. Like, I want to be a fighter pilot. So, like, and, until they pretty much forced him to, like, take rank, he was like, would turn down, like, every, like, opportunity to, like, move up in rank so he could stay as a squad leader instead of, like, commanding a entire ship or whatnot.
So we've been entirely way too serious and nostalgic. How did the name cockpit originate? Like somebody be like, we're in a pit of cocks. How did that get attributed?
I don't know. That's one of those weird things. I like look up the origin of words occasionally. Like, we had a discussion on where Sallyport came from. Cockpit. Origins.
A pit for fighting cocks, referring to a place where cockfights were held.
Huh.
Okay, so I guess, they're just, referring to it as, just the tight enclosure where a great deal of stress or tension could occur, just like, if you, had your cock in a pit fighting. So, interesting.
Okay.
Oh, I guess cock is an Old English term for small boat, and swain, which means servant.
Yeah, apparently here's what it says. It's an 18th century nautical term denoting the area in the aft lower deck of a man of war where the wounded were taken.
I don't know.
Anyway.
It's the last place you want to be fighting.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to be fighting the cock. Oh, but yeah,
Yeah, I just felt like we haven't digressed enough for this segment, as our most of our episodes devolve into usual immaturity.
I saw a thing online and it became popular when the movie first came out. It was like, what's your Top Gun call sign? Put in your information and yeah, mine was Lieutenant Blue Balls. And I'm like, no, I don't. Well, there was two different ones. One of them gave me the name Blue Balls, and the other one gave me Night Owl. I'm like, all right, Night Owl sounds cooler. I don't want to be Lieutenant Blue Balls.
I guess we're about to figure out what.
That and the.
We're probably going to get the.
I like that they brought kind of his whatever love interest for this movie is whatever Penny Benjamin, which was just kind of like in the first movie where him and Goose are getting their ass chewed for like flicking off the MiG and disobeying orders to help Merlin, or was it Merlin? I can't remember. The Cougar, yeah, help Cougar land. And he's like, you've been put in hock like whatever 5 times for high-speed passes on towers and one admiral's daughter. And Goose looks at him as Penny Benjamin? And then you actually meet Penny Benjamin in this movie. Like, oh, that's the admiral's daughter that he... And then you find out the thing he got in trouble for was apparently taking her on a unsanctioned joyride. I mean, hell, if you're a pilot, that's definitely how you get ass. Is like, come on, baby, I'll take you up. Who now owns like the local kind of pilot bar at Top Gun, and like all the the pilots that are eventually going to be assigned to this program are in there partying, and there's like, he's just some dumb old guy, and he ends up like having to buy violating one of the rules of the bar and having to buy everybody drinks, and then he doesn't have enough money to cover it, so they literally throw him like off the deck. And then like the next morning, they're all sitting and briefing, and they're like, "We'd like you to introduce you to your instructor for this course, Lieutenant Pete Mitchell, aka Maverick." And then he walks in, and they're all like, "Oh fuck, we're screwed." We just threw our instructor off a balcony.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it did a great job. Even the team building exercises and stuff, like where, obviously, best of the best. Like ego's got to come into play. But I love like just the banter and downtime when they're just hanging out at the bar. The competing groups, or where he just has them out on the beach, like just fucking playing flag football and shit like that. And it's like,
yeah, because we had to have our like shirtless beach volleyball scene from the original movie. This is this generation's version of that. It's like, all right, we're gonna play some kind of flag football where we have two balls and you're both on defense and offense at the same time. But it's like, yeah, it's that kind of in any team building movie where like, all right, the Mighty Ducks aren't getting along. We got to come up with some kind of exercise that brings the team together so they're finally acting like a team. And then you also have Miles Teller as Rooster, a.k.a. Goose Jr., who hates Maverick because apparently he's like, Mom didn't want him to become a pilot and get killed like his dad, so he's like, Maverick has kind of been blocking his career up to this point. But then again, he's also he's like, you got the skills, you're here, but you don't, you're a good technical pilot, but you just don't have the you got to have this, part of it's like mental. Like you can have all the skills to do this, but if you don't have kind of like the heart to push it past what you think your limits are. Like he has the thing, comes in and he's like pulls out like the manual on the F-18. He's like, all right, I'm pretty sure all y'all know like this book like back to back. And they're like, yes sir. And he's like, good. And like throws in the garbage. He's like, because I'm not here to test the limits of your aircraft. I'm here to test your limits. So let's get your ass in some planes. And then he just proceeds to crush all their egos. He's like, all right, yeah, it's like whoever dies first has to do 100 push-ups. And he's like just one after the other, and they're like making fun of the first guys that got taken out, and then it's like the next round of guys are out there doing push-ups again. He's like, yeah, you thought that was funny when you were taking selfies of your your other classmates earlier, didn't you? He's like, I may be old, but I will still kick all of your asses.
Dude, this is just a ploy to,
just trying to steal your information at this point.
So apparently my Top Gun call sign is Gangsta.
Gangster in the Night Owl.
Yeah. Apparently I'm bad at the bone in a good way. You don't put up with anything, but you always go put out ability and effort where needed. You believe respect is earned and take anyone who doesn't show it down a peg. Okay.
But Miles
I got
Teller
a pretty
too.
sweet helmet.
Miles Teller, he looks like Goose. Like they could not have cast a better actor to play Goose's son. I mean, he's got that kind of sweet 70s mustache.
Dude, I had to do a double take because I'm like, they look so similar.
When he rolls in like the Hawaiian shirt and starts playing Great Balls of Fire on the piano and shit, it's like, dude, this is they've somehow de-aged Goose, and it's the same actor. Yeah, he did a great job of looking the part, at least.
I don't know. I was just like, I definitely felt like some shenanigans were at foot. Seeing him compared, to the other pictures. I'm like, holy crap.
Oh. And then, of course, like they have to have, a crash because like a bird hits a thing and one guy almost blacks out. But then,
isn't that crazy? Like you're flying this big ass airplane and it's a bird.
Yeah.
A legit, not. We're not talking, I made up call sign for another plane. Nope, just bird.
The birds will fuck planes up, which is surprising. I mean, these things can like be shot at and everything else, but it's like no, a couple goose off track will will take you down.
Has a plane ever been taken down by a goose?
Well, yeah, there was that one that crashed. Whatever, Captain Sully that had to land on the land in the bay up in New York. Caught a couple birds in the engine.
But a goose.
Oh no, those were probably seagulls. I don't remember the species of bird that crashed the plane. I was surprised there never was a we're gonna like, you know, catch up on foreign relations, you know, give them the bird. I kept waiting for that to come back. But then, of course, Maverick, you know, all the young pilots are like, this is impossible. They've not had like a successful run on this thing because they have to basically fly through a canyon under radar to avoid missiles. And at the end of the canyon, fucking fly pretty much straight up to go over the lip of like a crater to get to the target and pull like a shitload of G's. And everyone's like, they have to do it in a certain amount of time, or you know, there's gonna be time for more advanced jets to like catch up to them. So it's like it has to be done under a certain time. And they're like,
you will be flying the Generation 4, but your enemy has Generation 5.
Yeah, there's no way, you know, they're like, it's impossible, we can't do it. And then Iceman dies, so now Maverick doesn't have like, you know, his guardian angel, and they're like, no, we're gonna like, you know, remove the safety. We're gonna give him more time to do the thing. Let him come in higher. You're dismissed, Maverick. We don't need you anymore. And so he just, you know, and he goes to like, girl's like, dude, those are your pilots. They're gonna, if you let these guys run the mission, they're gonna get killed. You have to do something. So he's just like, all right, what would Maverick do? So I'm going to steal a plane and show everybody that this flight path is possible. And then like, as they're, you know, the morning briefing and the commander's telling them like, oh, we're going to do it this other way. That's definitely going to get y'all killed. And then all of a sudden like Maverick comes on the radar and they're like, freaking runs it like in under the prescribed time. They're like, oh fuck, like he can, somebody did that shit.
He's like, I know we've been calling him old and all, but he did it. Now,
sometimes you just got to see someone else do it before you're like, all right, now I know it's possible.
Yes.
So I like, it's not impossible. So
if there was ever a Microsoft, you know, flight simulator DLC that released that flight path or whatever, dude, I would probably buy me an entire flight sim setup just to attempt that shit.
Yeah.
You see me here. Fuck it, the throttle only goes to 10. We're going to 12. Talk to me, Goose.
Yeah, it's like he like, you know, did this to inspire my men that it was possible, but then it's like he kind of did too good of a job because the commander's like, I got two choices. I could like have you arrested and for stealing a plane, or I'm gonna put you in charge of this mission because you're the only one that has been able to fly this path. And then, you know, he actually, because he has to pick, it's like basically a four-man group, because like they have one plane that has like a targeting computer that has to basically laser sight the target, and then the other plane shoots the target. So it's like four, so they gotta blow up the exhaust port cover on the first missile, and then on the second pass drop the missile into the secret nuclear lab or whatever. And he actually, you know, because Goose's kid's like, yeah, of course he's gonna, like, you know, if he's in charge, he's definitely not picking me for this mission. And he's like, all right, Rooster, you're saddle up. You can be my wingman anytime.
Just waiting for, you know, fucking Alice in Chains Rooster to start playing at some point. It never does, though.
Try to kill the rooster. Oh, But yeah, he finally has that moment where he's like, Maverick and his wingman go through the thing, and then Rooster's the shooter on the second pass, and his wingman's like, dude, we got to speed up. We're not going to hit our time if we don't speed up. And he's just like, and then finally he's just like, because Maverick, when he's in those stressful situations, he's like, talk to me, Goose. And he's finally like, talk to me, Dad. And he's like, fucking drops the hammer and is like, whoa, shit, no, like, I'm having trouble keeping up with you now. Go from like, I'm scared to like, fuck this.
I mean, at some point you don't have to commit,
And then not only like, here's the other thing, Star Wars. Maverick hits the target on the first pass. On the second pass, there's like a malfunction in the targeting computer on the second plane. So he's like, I just got to use the Force. I'm gonna have to eyeball this shit. Use the Force, Luke.
There's no R2-D2 riding in the back, I don't suppose.
Oh,
just beeping random signals.
But oh man, I've never been that stressed out too. It's like, because it was like, we need like 2 miracles. We fly.
Fuck that, you need 3.
Oh yeah, it was like, we gotta fly through this stuff without crashing or anything. Then we gotta roll over this target and hit a 3-meter wide thing. And then on the way out, we gotta avoid all the anti-aircraft missiles and shit. So it's like, as soon as they leave that crater, it's like fucking shooting gallery. I'm like, oh goddamn, this is...
and then you get through all of that shit, and then you get the dogfight.
Yeah.
Because you're, at that 4 or 5 minute window where, oh, they got birds in the air now. Which you would think, I mean, I get it, like, the film goes through and, they end up destroying, like, the runway, right? But you'd be like, where are they going to launch these birds from? Like, they got Generation 5. What if they got no generation? Wipe that shit out.
Yeah, so they blow up the runway, but there was still at least a couple birds out on patrol, so they still got to at least deal with 2, of these supposed badass jets. But yeah, when Maverick gets shot down, I was like, holy shit, is this how this movie's gonna end? Are they gonna kill Maverick? And and the base tell him like, return to base, it's too hot, like Maverick's gone. But then Goose goes back and ends up shooting down the helicopter, saving Maverick, who's on the ground, and then gets shot down himself. And I love that when he catches up to him, he's like, what the... He's like, dude, like, what the fuck were you thinking? He's like, I saved you. He's like, no, I saved you, and then you came back and got shot down. Like, what the hell were you thinking? He's like, I wasn't thinking. You told me not to think, sir. And he's like, I did say that. Fuck. Okay.
Every teenager's, like... aha, I got you now, motherfucker moment. Like, I'm able to use your own words against you.
Yeah, it's the whole movie's been telling him, like, you think too much up there. You just gotta, like, feel it. And he's like, oh, shit, he finally listened to me, and fuck, this is what happens. And I gotta say, this is the point where the movie goes off the fucking rails. It's like, everything semi-plausible up to this point, but then the way the movie, like, the final 20, 30 minutes... it went batshit bonkers, but I was like, I don't care. This is so fucking fun at this point that I don't care how ridiculous this ending is.
I mean, but that's what made it, that action, true blockbuster. Like, yeah, it's over the top. It's not necessarily plausible, but it's just fun. Like, yeah. I miss movies just being fun. Like, we don't have to have a big hidden agenda or another secret message. Like, just fucking entertain me.
Yeah. And earlier when they were briefing of, like, what assets you may have to go up against, like, oh, they got this base with, like, these 5th gen fighters, but then they got a mixture of, like, some old surplus shit. Hell, they even got a couple Tomcats out there. So, like, Rooster's like, so what do we do now? He's like, got a plan. And they go to, like, the base. And they're like, we're just going to steal a plane. And, of course, there is a F-14 Tomcat sitting in a hangar. Just like the original movie. And I was like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, no fucking way. And Rooster's like, dude, this thing's older than I am. He's like, yeah, but I know how to fly this thing. They jack that enemy Tomcat that's like only half working, and like the enemy planes show up, and he's like, wait a minute, like they think we're one of them, so let's just pretend our radio's not working, which our radio is actually not working. He's like, hey, find this button back there and reset everything. And he's like, there's a lot of buttons, which one isn't? He's like, I don't know, that was kind of your dad's job. I'm not sure why. I just shoot stuff and fly the plane. He hit all the buttons in the back. Like, figure it out. And they like pull up beside him and start giving him like, he's like, radio's not working. And they're giving him hand signals. And he's like, what does that mean? He's like, I have no idea. I'm just gonna like wave. And he's like, well, what is? He does another thing. And he's like, don't know what that means either. But I'm just gonna.
We're not speaking the same sign language.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, let me just give you the middle finger, because that's not even universal in every country.
But then he almost has that, I'm just going to slam on the brakes, they'll fly right by. And he's like, freaking just hits it and just like guns down like that first plane pretty much. And then has to dogfight the other one until, they're about to get, fucking him splashing too. And then third guy's like, well, we're out of flares. We're out of ammo. And oh shit, the ejection seat's not working. We're fucked here. And then the one guy who'd been like an asshole to Rooster the whole movie, like the more like competitive, kind of like this generation's Iceman character, shows up and saves his ass at the end. He's like, "Hello, gentlemen, would you like an escort home?" And at the end of it, they're like, best buddies. Like,
yeah, you got that sense of brotherhood. Hey, I appreciate you, putting egos and everything else aside to, belling our asses out, It's kind of, going
you can
back
be my
to
wingman anytime. Fuck you. You can be mine.
it just goes back to, what we were talking about a few episodes back, how, we used to get in, fights and shit like that, and you left as friends. Like,
yeah.
This is very much that same, concept. You're, whatever. Two assholes, come together for one comic. Like, all right, now there's a mutual level of respect. Like, we're all in this shit together.
That was the other thing too, was that I thought was cool, was kind of like the next generation of pilots. It's a different skill set than what it was back like previously, because it's like, somebody at one point is like, these guys, these people are, they're Top Gun graduates, they're, they've had combat experience. They're like, yeah, but like their experience is dropping missiles from like high altitude. Like, no one dogfights anymore. There's not like, we don't really, like, in the conflicts we've been in, we've had like air superiority, so there's not really been any, like, they're like, we haven't had a ace, which is someone who shot down 5 planes since the Korean War. I mean, even Maverick's only got 3 like confirmed kills or whatever. And it's like, because like, at this point we're not in conflicts with people that, we got, we're dealing with people living in caves and shit. There's not any like,
we're dropping tomahawks and shit, way above,
It's more whatever close air support and air to ground attacks. Like, we don't have an enemy that is kind of on our par airwise. So these guys have no experience like dogfighting and shit. So it's like, having that, him like, and then at the end, the one guy's like, hey, because he's like the only guy in the new kids that has actually shot anyone down. He's like, I got 2 kills now. And they're like, yeah, but Maverick also got 2 kills, so now he's an ace. He's still better than you, kid.
I don't know. I mean, it was a blast, And I mean, dude, we've legit talked 45 minutes just on the action shit. Like, we didn't even get into much of the nostalgia or like the emotional aspect of the film. Like, that was a whole like other side that I was just like, dude, there's a level of depth there that I didn't even like anticipate or expect.
Yeah, him trying to like be a father figure to Rooster, and Rooster kind of hating him for that, stepping in and kind of getting him kicked out of the academy, which made it harder for him to get to where he is as a pilot. And he's like, well, he just doesn't trust me right now. And then you find out it was his mother. Basically, that was like her last wish before she passed away, was like, Maverick don't let him like, become a pilot like like y'all were. Like I don't want him, dying like Goose did. And then him also like him learning kind of how to be an adult, because he's very much like still I'm the hotshot pilot, and then he had to learn like, oh, and this is how you become, because he even says like, yeah, I was an instructor for like 6 months before they like decided like this is not what I'm what I'm meant to do. And so you had to kind of learn like, all right, like at this age I need to be a mentor, and like it's him learning how to think of someone other than kind of himself, and not only with like training the pilots, but also kind of reconnecting with Penny Benjamin, and having an adult, not in the sex sense, but like an adult as in like, oh, like maybe I actually settle down with this person and not just be
hey, I'm here for the moment, but it's like, oh, she's got a daughter now, and like the whole daughter, just, I don't care what you do, you guys are adults, but don't break her heart again.
Yeah, even like, she's like, you got to jump out the window. What? And he's like, all right, she knows we're like seeing, but like, I don't want to have this conversation with her yet. Just jump out the fucking window. Like, okay. And then he jumps out the window, and she's like sitting there at the door, like waiting on him. Like, dude, like, come on. Y'all aren't teenagers. Why are you sneaking out a fucking window? Just don't break her heart anymore. He's like, yes, ma'am.
Busted.
And then he comes back all from the, like, I'm the hero. And then they're like, hey, where's Penny? Oh, they went sailing with her daughter on a trip. Fuck. I come back to be like, honey, I'm home, and she's not here. So then he goes back to his cool hangar apartment with having a kind of father adopted son moment with Goose, showing him how to work on the old airplanes and whatnot. And then of course she shows up and is like, let's go for a flight.
Dude fucking pulls out the World War II era, like, dude.
Yeah, that was like badass old plane.
Yes. Like, I've always appreciated the jets, but there was something about, the freaking prop planes and everything that it's like, and the paces that, those things went through is like.
Yeah, and like that was when like, the era of the dogfighter, where it was much more like, World War II plane to plane fight. I mean, that's where the term whole 9 yards comes from, is like the 50 cal belts in those machine guns those planes were equipped with was 9 yards long. So if you did a mag dump on your plane, you gave them the whole 9 yards.
Well, at least we knew where that came from. It's a lot better than when we were talking about cockpits.
I'm pretty sure it's like a bar in, Midtown. And there's so many like Hollywood movies now that are like so fucking political or woke and shit. It's like, I didn't really catch any of that in this.
No,
it was very much just kind of, this is like your regular badass action movie. There's not like an extra message we need to like shoehorn into this story.
Rooster is secretly bi-curious. Like, what does that got to do with the fucking story at all? Like, that's my problem. Like, if it's, if you're trying to progress your story or whatever, like, and that's a character, but, just forcing something for no need, it's like, that did nothing but.
Yeah, if it's essential to the storyline, whatever. But it's just like, I want to be a badass pilot, sir, but I'm also transitioning. It's like, okay, like, what does that have to do with this fucking mission? I'm
transitioning to be a better badass pilot.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
It's like, or like, there's, some other like I'm so I want to. Movies are for escapism. That's why, like, during the Great Depression and all this other stuff, like, when the economy and everything goes to shit, usually entertainment, like, goes up because people need
the
something.
Economy shit. I mean, I keep seeing people like this is the best economy ever. Like,
Chad, you can't find baby. But it's like, people go to the movies, that's for escapism. Like, I don't want to hear political bullshit or anything else. And like, this is one that was definitely like, we're just a movie. We're not trying to, give you a message along with this. Like, no, dude, just have fun. Watch people blow up shit in jets.
see, this will be one of the films, though, that, certain sides of that, woke crowd or whatever will get. It's trying to feed, artificial patriotism and blah, blah, blah. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Like
this is one of those...
There was no, like, female pilots in Top Gun. But we had, one of the people that goes on the mission's a lady pilot, but it never was, like, a big deal. Like, this is the demographics of the modern military. She's a capable, competent pilot. There was never anything like, oh, yeah, she's going to, lead this mission because she's a badass lady pilot. No, she was just a badass lady pilot. There was no, like, trying to, like, shoehorn her in as like the secret like star of the movie and shit. Like other studios would have definitely
and that's the thing is this truly like it's definitely flashier. It's it does go off the rails like you talked about, but this is the summer blockbuster. Like,
yes, we're finally back to, and it's also not a Marvel movie. Like, it's like all the big movies
are Disney.
Or like, DC, Marvel, like these superhero, like, this is just old school Jerry Bruckheimer fucking...
dude, how badass was it just to see that logo again?
Yes,
like...
Because, there's like always like the Jerry Bruckheimer films, but this is back in the day when he did I think he did his best work when it was him and Don Simpson, like the Simpson Bruckheimer production, and they brought the OG logo back for this, and I'm like, fuck yes. And then, of course, Highway to the Danger Zone, like, starts off the movie, and you're like,
no, it doesn't.
Well,
the movie starts with, Tom Cruise, I made this movie for the fans. This is for you. Which I thought was kind of cool.
That was cool, too, yeah. The whole, like, thank you for coming to theaters.
So, does this change? Does this revert us back, because it's cool to be retro now?
Oh, there's going to be Jurassic Park started the deep the deep sequel. But yeah, what other movie that never had a number 2 are we going to get a number 2 on now?
And that's, do we now, okay, well, let's stop doing reboots. Let's now make sequels to movies that we didn't need. Like, we're going to do a sequel to E.T.
I'm not even...
Dude, I haven't seen E.T. in so long, I don't even
know where to go with that one.
But would you have known where to go with Top Gun?
The Rock 2. Back to The Rock. Starring The Rock. Yeah, it's like... And this one, I'm surprised it wasn't a freaking reboot. It's like, no, this is same guys.
But I'm wondering, if this doesn't change, and it could be for the better. People so sick of, everything being politicized and decisive. Like, what happened to just, hey, I can be in a theater of 150 people and we all just laugh and just enjoy, entertainment for the sheer value of, like you said, that whole escapism thing. Like, I don't need to know about the climate. I don't need to know about your political or your scientific beliefs. Like, fucking entertain me.
Yeah. And that's one thing I like about Tom Cruise is he's like one of those dudes that, like, all right, he's into some weird shit. Like,
well, Rachel was like, I really think I would like Top Gun, but, he donated half his proceeds to sign. I'm like, who gives a fuck what he does with his money?
Yeah.
Like, it's a fucking good movie, and if you can't get past, like, what the dude's doing with his money, like, And it's not like that's showcased throughout the film or anything.
No.
If this was a Scientology, shoved down your throat fest, I would have been like, this is a shit pile of a movie.
And that's the thing. Tom Cruise, he's one of those guys. No social media presence. You never see him commenting on shit on like Facebook and whatnot. This is like, all right, yeah, he does the Scientology thing, but he's not one of those out there like, constantly commenting on whatever the political topic of the day is. Like I said, as far as I know, the dude has like no social media. It's like he's one of those guys like, I'm an actor, I'm gonna shut the fuck up and act and make things that you enjoy. And like I gotta give him give him props on that.
I don't know. I'm not gonna really get political. I'll end it after this, but I think that's a big problem with today's society is they let whatever celebrities or famous people they follow
Dictate
they put their
opinions.
own opinions. Like, hey, this person hasn't studied, doesn't have any access or any kind of special knowledge on XYZ topic that I do or you do, but because they've got 1 million followers on social media, their voice is automatically more important. Like,
it's kind of like whatever Denzel Washington and Gary Sinise. They do like big things for like veterans and shit, but you rarely see them doing them. They just do them, and then like it ends up leaking in the media later on. They're like, nah, I'm not doing this to make myself more famous. And there's a lot of people like, I'm gonna do a good thing, and I want to make sure everybody fucking knows I did the good thing.
Like I'm wondering, who the next big thing will be, right?
What?
Amber Heard reformed, rehabilitated. This is going to be her gift,
I want to see
and it's gonna be a steaming pile of shit on a bed.
I want to see the petition that's going around to replace Amber Heard with Bruce Campbell in the next Aquaman movie. I want to see Bruce Campbell in a fucking ginger wig pretending to be Mira. And them just like not explain it whatsoever. Just there's fucking Bruce Campbell. So as we bring this in for a landing, what do you think of the Villiger here? Part
deuce. Deuce is very good. Speaking of taking a deuce, you mean dose, not deuce.
Yeah, this is I liked part one, and this one is equally good, if not better. Kind of like
I actually think this one's
Gun Maverick,
a little bit better. I don't know. There's just something about that touch of spice, that little bit of sweetness mixed with. This is very much a whiskey drinker cigar.
Oh yeah. Do I have any whiskey? Might have a little whiskey. Go see what's in the in my stock. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely think this one. And again, if you've not seen Top Gun, you're a communist, and if you've not seen Top Gun Maverick, you're a double communist, I guess. You should definitely see this movie. And
you're either a socialist or a communist.
And it's also, I think, one of the, because we always talk about like, hey, a lot of this shit goes pretty quickly to streaming. This is one I think you definitely need to see on a big screen, just for the sound effects and of like seeing those jet. I didn't get to see it in IMAX. I mean, I think it's also playing in IMAX now. That would be
it is.
Like
I was actually thinking back. When I was, I'm like, this is cool. I wonder how much cooler it would be. Like,
yeah,
dude, or if they did like a 4D, like where your chairs were like fucking,
yeah. Well,
rocking you back and forth and shit.
A few years ago, like on I think one of the anniversaries of Top Gun, they re-released it in IMAX 3D. That shit was insane in 3D. So I was like, even a non 3D on just that big fucking screen, that this would be definitely worth seeing a second time.
I don't know. I definitely think. Are motion theaters still even a thing? I know at certain theme parks, they still.
I've seen like
sort of have
tourist attraction, but yeah, I've not seen one. Yeah, I think there's still one up in Gatlinburg. Last time I was up there.
I think that'd be a fucking riot.
Yeah, freaking 4D theaters and shit. All right, well with that, we'll be right back. And if you're watching on the YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And you've been watching the Cigar Nerds podcast. Check us out on CigarNerdPodcast.com. We're on the ESO Network at ESONetwork.com. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Cigar Nerd Pod. Remember, smoke 'em as you got 'em. Like, comment, and subscribe.